Somewhere Better by I_am_Ellie on AU3. Episode 44, Chapter 5, Bullies, Big and Small. On the 1st of April, Shouta set his alarm to wake him up 2 hours earlier than usual, simply because he knew that, should he fail to do this, he would immediately regret it later. Hizashi had still been asleep when the alarm went off, not yet awake to go running off to the radio show. And when Shouta stood up out of bed, the man sprawled out onto the mattress like a starfish, claiming all the space Shouta had left behind. He went to the bathroom first, checking his face for drawings done in Sharpie, and sighing in relief when he found it clean. Then he went about his morning routine, making sure to check for any pranks or jokes along the way, before getting dressed in his hero uniform and making the first pot of coffee of the day. It would be a while before the rest of the house was awake, so Shouta took the time to sit on the couch and relax in the quiet, sipping from his mug of coffee and allowing himself to relax before the day truly started. After finishing his first cup of coffee, he poured himself another, drinking from it as he collected dirty laundry from the bathroom into a trash bag to be taken out to the laundromat later. It was an hour later when Hizashi stumbled out of the bedroom, going straight to the kitchen to make breakfast before he had to leave for a quick check-in with the radio. It wasn't Friday, so he didn't have to put on a long show segment, but he still had to stop by for an hour or so every morning to make sure everything was still running smoothly. "Morning, sweetheart," Hizashi greeted through a yawn, pulling 3 separate boxes of cereal down from the cabinet and a jug of milk from the fridge. A jug that, Shouta noted with disdain, was only a quarter of a way full. "We need more milk," Hizashi said, finishing off the jog and tossing it into the bin. He put the bowls of cereal down on the table in their usual spots, adding 3 bananas so they could pretend it was an actual balanced breakfast. Hizashi quickly ate his bowl of cereal before dropping his bowl in the sink, filling a thermos with coffee, and taking his banana to eat on the way. "Love you," Hizashi said, kissing Shouta before quickly hurrying out the door. He worked too much. But he also hadn't done anything for April Fools, hadn't even acknowledged the fact that the holiday was happening, which wasn't something Hizashi had done in 7 or so years. Shouta had known him, which was concerning, to say the least. April Fools was one of Hisashi's favorite holidays, next to Valentine's Day, which they hadn't been able to really celebrate that year because of prior engagements, and Father's and Mother's Day, holidays that he took off work so he could spend time with his family. There were always pranks on April Fools, small jokes throughout the day that alternated between making Shouta laugh and making Shouta want to strangle Hizashi, and one big, unexpected, well-thought-out prank sometimes during the day that Shouta suspected Hizashi planning out periodically throughout the year. It was a tradition as steady and constant as making coffee in the morning or waking up every day. It wasn't something Hizashi just ignored. Shouta couldn't help but feel nervous as he walked into Izuku's room, turning on the lights and beginning the long process of coating the boy out of bed. Once the boy was cleaned, clothed, and combed, Shouta sat him down at the table, pushing the bowl of pure sugar towards him. Shouta and Hizashi usually tried to make sure the child ate something mildly healthy for breakfast, since it was the most important meal of the day. But Hizashi had been in more of a rush than normal to leave that morning, and Shouta couldn't be trusted near a stove unless they wanted a burned-down apartment on their hands. "Uncle Sashi's at work?" Izuku asked, shoving a huge spoonful of brightly colored cereal into his mouth. Shouta nodded. "Has to make sure the people at his show are doing their jobs," he said wearily, taking a sip of coffee and hurrying to finish his own bowl of cereal. "And we have to hurry if we're going to get you to school on time." Izuku nodded, finishing off his cereal and hurrying up to eat his fruit, and Shouta dropped the dishes in the sink before towing on his shoes at the door and rushing out. "Izuku, come on." Izuku called out to the child, who was still standing in the doorway, and saying a drawn-out, long-winded goodbye to the cats. Shouta grabbed Izuku's hands and helped him down the stairs of their apartment building, strapping him onto the car seat moments later and driving down the road to the schoolhouse. Zuku, hey! Denki greeted once they walked through the door, grinning excitedly. Good to see you! He lifted his hand for a high five, and Izuku unthinkingly lifted his own, only to feel a buzz and a small electric shock run down his arm. Ow! Izuku cried, ripping his hand back and pointing at the small red splotch on his palm. What was that for? He demanded, sniffling. It's April Fool's, Izuku! Denki cried, easing the small silver circle off of his hand. That means war. Izuku had never felt more frightened in his life. Don't worry, I won't get you too bad, Denki said easily, grin never falling from his face. I got ungrounded too, so I'm in a good mood. We're totally gonna get Toshi though. Izuku blinked. You finally got your books back. That's great! Izuku cried, smiling happily. Denki always seemed happier and more focused when there was a book in his hands. Something for him to focus on or something to look forward to when he was done with lessons. For the first few weeks, Denki had been nothing short of fidgety, getting even worse marks than usual in class and spacing out quite a bit during conversation. Izuku was ecstatic he finally gotten that bit of happiness back. Yeah, they packed all the books my grandma sent me from Maine into a big box and hid it so I couldn't find it. But I have all my books back now, and I'm finally done with Catcher in the Rye. That's awesome, Dinks! Izuku bounced up in place, absent-mindedly. What's the book you're reading now about? Is it good? It's the best! Denki gushed. My grandma always knows what books I like. She sends awesome ones every time. This one's about the boy named Tom Sawyer and another boy named Hulk. And it's kind of scary sometimes because are some bad guys. But it's really good, and I think I'm going to send a letter to America and ask my grandma if she could send me more books by the guy who wrote it. Mark Twain, I think it was his name. I can't remember, and I'll read all of them because even though it'll take a while, and Denki stopped abruptly, wincing. His face turned red. Sorry, I'm talking too much. What? No, it's okay. Izuku rushed to reassure the boy. I like hearing you talk about books. You're always happier when you talk about books. Probably, Denki acknowledged. Reading books make me really happy, even if it's kind of hard. Izuku shrugged. It'll get easier. We're little. Things are supposed to be hard for us. That's why we have big people there to help us. And then when we're big, we'll get to help the little people. Denki continued, derailing the previous topic of conversation entirely. Yeah! May burrowed into the room minutes later, not bothering to greet either of them as she started fearlessly scribbling in her notebook. Hitoshi walked in after May, looking tired, his eyes red-rimmed and heavy-looking, and Izuku could tell it was going to be a bad day for Hitoshi at least. Hitoshi had a lot of bad days. It was hard to see them coming, but they were easy to recognize. Red eyes, tired expression, sad face, drawn up tight and worry. Hitoshi was a lot like Denki, that way, because Denki had bad days sometimes too, when he couldn't focus or when he was restless and accelerated. Denki had once told him that he felt like his skin was crawling, and there was nothing he could do about it, and it gave Izuku a whole new perspective on how bad Denki's bad days were. But Izuku thought Hitoshi and Denki's had bad days for different reasons. Denki had bad days when he had trouble focusing, after getting in trouble with his parents, who were very strict, or when he didn't have a book with him, or something to focus his attention on. The last few weeks that Denki had been grounded by his parents after the light bulb incident, Izuku could barely see the still pink scar on Denki's palm, had been filled with bad days. Hitoshi's bad days were different. He didn't talk a lot about his father, but Izuku knew that Hitoshi loved him, and that Hitoshi's father loved him back. He just had to work quite a bit, and Hitoshi didn't get to see him quite often. Izuku liked Hitoshi's father, though he couldn't say the same for Denki's parents. Izuku knew that Hitoshi's father, at least, would never intentionally make Hitoshi have a bad day. From Izuku's basic understanding of Hitoshi and how he operated, he knew that Hitoshi didn't talk because he was always scared, and that Hitoshi might talk again once he wasn't scared anymore. But that day didn't seem to be coming anytime soon. But Izuku wasn't sure what caused Hitoshi's bad days, like he was sure of what caused Denki's bad days. Hitoshi was a mystery in more ways than one, despite the fact that Izuku considered him his best friend. But Izuku did know this. Hitoshi was always scared. And when he had bad days, it meant he was more scared than usual. "You okay, Toshi?" Izuku asked, and the boy didn't answer, instead choosing to bury his head in his arms and sleep. Or hide. It was hard to tell sometimes with Hitoshi. Ochako walked in through the door next, hair a bit messier than usual. The tie of her uniform was missing, and the shirt, under her blazer, was wrinkled and rumpled. "Morning, Ochako," Izuku greeted, and Denki and May did the same. May didn't look up from her notebook when she's done it, but it was better than nothing. "Morning." Ochako returned, and she sounded very tired. It looked like it was going to be a bad day for Ochako and Hitoshi. "You okay?" Denki asked. Denki's accent had been fading away bit by bit over the months, but his words still sounded oddly thick, and that way he said his words was odd. It was fun listening to Denki talk. Ochako blinked. "Oh, yeah, I'm fine," she answered cheerfully. She didn't look fine. Miss Yuna was a good actor. She was nice and kind, and she talked to Izuku about his day and helped him sort out some of his problems. And whenever she asked him how he was, and he said fine, she raised an eyebrow like she didn't believe him and threatened to shoot him with a Nerf gun. Izuku had an appointment with Miss Yoon that evening, and he told himself that he would ask her how to help his friends when they were having bad days. If anyone would know, it would be Miss Yoon. Izuku didn't have a Nerf gun, but he could be very clear with the fact that he didn't believe Ochako. Izuku tried to raise an eyebrow, like Miss Yoon did, but he found he couldn't, so he just raised both. He felt embarrassed for a moment, because he was sure he must look quite silly. "No, you're not," Izuku decided primly. "What's wrong?" Ochako's eyes widened. "What? Nothing's wrong," Ochako said, grinning awkwardly. "My doctor said there's always something wrong when someone says they're fine. So what's wrong?" Izuku blinked, staring down at the floor for a moment, before sighing heavily. "Can I tell you during recess?" she asked, and Izuku nodded. Denki was staring at them, looking just as concerned as Izuku felt. Hitoshi hadn't lifted his head, but Izuku thought he might be listening. May was too lost in her inventions. Izuku doubted she noticed a bomb going off. That might be for the best. They did math first, and Hitoshi pulled himself out of his hiding place to work on a few problems. Hitoshi was okay at math, but he was best at science and reading, and he didn't finish his problems as fast as May and Ochako did. Denki hated math, and he stared at the problem for a long time, face drawn up in a scowl as he regarded the problems before him. "This is dumb," Denki moaned, and several people from the different tables shushed him. "Look," Izuku whispered, pointing at the first problem. "She has 8 apples and 4 oranges, and he has 2 apples and no oranges, right?" Denki nodded slowly. "So she's nice, so she gives him 2 apples and all her oranges, because he didn't have enough food, and she doesn't like oranges, right?" "That's not a part of the problem," Denki said with uncertainty. "There's gotta be a reason she gave him all her oranges. She hates oranges," Izuku stated. "So she gives him 2 apples and all her oranges. So it would be 2 and 2, and 4 and 0. That would be..." Denki counted it on his fingers. 4 apples and 4 oranges? "Yeah!" Izuku cheered, grinning widely. "Good job, Danks! Okay, so now this one..." Denki seemed to be doing a better job on problems when he talked them through instead of just straight looking at numbers. Izuku and Denki made funny stories out of the problems, and complained about the problems without words. And it didn't take long for Denki to get through all the problems. Izuku didn't give Denki any of the answers, only helped explain the problem better. And Izuku had no doubt that Denki had gotten most of it, if not all the problems right. Denki seemed to be having a much easier go at it if someone took the time to just explain things to him. Izuku wasn't sure if the teacher would ever do it, because she was a little mean. But until they got a nice teacher, Izuku could help Denki get through his mouth problems. Please turn in your papers at the front desk, kids, the teacher called, and everyone brought their papers. While I mark these, everyone can have art time. Everyone stood up to grab paper, crayons, and pencils before reclaiming their seats. Izuku drew himself in a hero uniform he wanted someday. There was no reason he couldn't plan out now. He considered his options. He wanted to make people feel safe, but did he want to do that in the spotlight or as an underground hero, like Anki Sho? Anki Sho was a great underground hero. He took the cases that the big named heroes didn't, helped stop petty crime, and he still got to fight villains on a semi-regular basis. Maybe being an underground hero would be better. He could still make people feel safe, and they wouldn't even need to know about him being quirkless, which would probably make his life as a hero difficult thanks to the media. He drew the outline of his body. Then he added a heavy green coat with a hood over his hair, a black coat mask, like the kind they use in hospitals, over his face, a black undershirt with long sleeves, and baggy exercise pants, so they wouldn't hurt his movements. Anki Sho and Anki Sashi had both said that was very, very important. He needed weapons, since he didn't have powers. A staff? A sword? A sword would be fun. Before he could decide, art time ended. Silent reading for an hour, the teacher said. Denki, come talk to me in the hallway, please. Denki, who had excitedly pulled out his book as soon as she said silent reading, slowly put it away and stood up from his seat. Hitoshi had sat up a little straighter and looked concerned, and Izuku saw Denki shoot a panicked look their way. Izuku tapped the table nervously, and the minutes dragged on. Denki had been out in the hallway for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The door finally opened. Midoriya, Shinsou, the teacher called, voice sounding a bit sharp. Hallway, now. Izuku and Hitoshi stood up, and Ochako grabbed his arm before he could walk away, looking worried. She was confused. He could tell. Izuku was confused too. He shrugged. They walked outside. We are about to find out why I hate the teacher so much. Loathe. Also, April Fools. I share a love-hate relationship with April Fools. So as a little kid, I loved the holiday. It was one of my favorites. But as I grew up, and the thing is, I like pulling pranks. I hate being pranked. Alright? Because some of the pranks go too far, okay? If it's one of those pranks where it's obviously a prank, I'm good with it. But if you prank me, but I'm not 100% sure it's a prank, but it's like kind of a prank, like those pranks that are not like really? I don't understand if you're pranking me or not. Stop it, right? I've learned to start to hate the holiday because it went from funny, silly pranks of, oh my god, look, I'm eating a sandwich that is completely moldy, but it's actually food coloring, right? To, hey, my friend's coming up to me and being like, hey, we need to tell you something. So, we're pregnant. You're what? Yeah, we're pregnant. I told him to pull out. Clearly it didn't work. We don't know what to do. You're pulling on my leg. It's April Fool's. You're pulling on my leg. Where's the April Fool's joke? Like, say psych right now. No, Echo, I'm not joking. We're pregnant. You're pregnant? And then 2 days later I find out, no, yeah, oh, we were joking. It was April Fool's. What the fuck? I'm over here worried. I'm over here like, hey, do you guys need support? There's a parent Planet Hood, what the fuck is the name over there? You could, get some support, whether it be abortion, if that's what you want to go, or, you could get plans to help get a doctor to see, that it all goes smoothly. Do you need help with your parents? Like, are you okay? Right, mind you, this is high school, right? So I was livid. I was like, are you okay? Are you all right? So it goes from pranks that are harmless, right, to pranks that I absolutely loathe because it's like, are you joking with me? I once had someone ask me out on April Fools, and I slapped that person because I'm like, no, you're not playing with my feelings. You're gonna wait a couple days if you are genuine about it. They did not ask me out a couple days. They were pulling a prank on me. I have a love-hate relationship with April Fool's Day. If you are to pull a prank on me, make sure, after the fact, that you make it abundantly clear, if it's not already abundantly clear, that it is a prank. And what I mean is not already abundantly clear is, if you tell me, hey, we're pregnant, and it's an April Fool's joke, tell me exactly after I get the reaction. Like, haha, funny, got the reaction, now tell me it's fake before I start planning to help you, okay? Thank you. Obviously, if the prank is something like I'm eating a moldy fucking sandwich, actually, yeah, please tell me that, that's a prank because I will worry. But like something like, fake snake in your backpack, or fake snake in your purse or something like that, right? Or fake snake in the vicinity, right? Like, oh my god, oh wait, it's a fake snake. Haha, funny, haha, laughing, So with Aizawa, I share that sentiment of absolutely loathing April Fool's Day because what the actual fuck, okay? What I hate is what brings out an April Fool's Day, and it brings out a lot of people who are jokesters, right? And the thing is, funny thing, I have a friend who I've been friends with for a long time, and they were a jokester. And by jokester, I mean every word out of their mouth, you have to question whether they mean it or they are joking, right? Man's called me an ice cream truck once. I'm not joking. He once, and it is literally recorded, he called me an ice cream truck. I don't know what that means. Anyways, point taken is, he's a very big jokester, and what I love about him and why we could still be friends even though he's a jokester, I also have another friend who is also a jokester and who jokes constantly, but the reason why I'm able to coexist and be friends with those two but not be friends with this other guy who's a jokester in theater back in my senior year that I absolutely fucking hated was because those two understand the fact, okay, one of them I did tell them like, hey, I do not understand when some people are joking sometimes. Social cues kind of fly over my head sometimes when it comes to jokes and stuff like that. Please tell me outright if you're being serious or not. Because if you are, trust me, if you're not being serious, I will take it serious. I will take you tell me this and I will take it seriously, right? And then the other one kind of caught on since we've been friends since, little kids, and motherfucker is always uses a different type of tone, right? And it's very abundant. And I didn't notice it before because I just never noticed it before, but when I see him joking around with other people, he doesn't make it as obvious in the sense that he doesn't make his tone so pronounced, right? So he might joke with someone being like, yeah, totally did that. And then with me, it's like, yeah, I totally did that. The difference, right? One is more low-key sarcasm, with the other one is, okay, you cannot, distinguish, you cannot ignore the fact that was sarcasm, right? And I notice that he does that with me. He makes it more pronounced, which I absolutely love because I understand when he's being sarcastic or not. As for the other friend, as I said, that other one does tell me afterwards, like, hey, this is a /J moment, by the way. Except this other guy, which I told before, hey, you say something, I'm gonna take you seriously, right? Did not understand this, and in fact, infuriated the fuck out of me one day when he made a rather racist joke once. It's like, yeah, ha ha ha, can't have a good book without racism. What's, you need racism in a world building. And I'm like, dude, we were just what? You mean to tell me that there needs to be racist stereotypes in a book for it to be what? I was so livid too. I don't understand how he did not understand the fact that I did not, catch the fact that it wasn't a joke. And I'm like, what are you saying? And he's like, yeah, you need the casual racist stereotype. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then I ended up telling other people about it. I'm like, he said that to me straight up, right? And then I remember he came up to me. He's like, dude, I was joking. Dude, I've told you before, you tell me something and I will take it literally. Like, you tell me this. And if you do not say that it's a joke, I will not understand the fact that you are joking or being sarcastic. He's like, I was being sarcastic. It was so obvious. It wasn't to me or the friend next to me. Then again, the friend next to me also has a bit of a difficulty with social cues. So that was never a good, understanding. But I understand the loathe for April Fools. I too loathe it. I too hate it. Well, I also love it at the same time. It's a love-hate relationship, okay? We're on and off, right? But I understand that sentiment. And I know a lot of people who are neurodivergent do not like April Fools. I understand that. I understand that sentiment. I hate it as well. I love and hate it, as I said. If someone makes the prank abundantly clear afterwards, yes, I do appreciate that. It does become fun for the both of us. But if you do not make it abundantly clear afterwards, and you let me think this for hours, and even days afterwards, fuck you. Actually. Like, what the fuck? Like, as I said, that one dude who, it wasn't on April Fool's when he said this, but literally made me think that he was a racist for a while, right? It happened, like, a week. I genuinely think he was racist. And I'm being honest with you, I don't even know if genuinely, like, afterwards he said to everybody that it was a joke and that I didn't catch on, because he knew that I didn't understand when someone was joking or not, and took that opportunity to, like, clear his hands, because he's like, oh shit, hold up, people are finding out, like, haha, I was joking, classic Echo not understanding jokes, or if that person was genuinely joking. I will never know, because again, sometimes jokes fly over my fucking head. They fly over my fucking head. Like, the same with other stuff. It's not just jokes. But, like, if I'm making plans with someone and I'm like, hey, does, this day work for you, blah, blah, blah. If you don't give me in a button, yeah, that day works great for me, we should do that day. I will not be able to distinguish the fact of, oh, does this day work or not? I had once a friend who I was planning a hangout with, and I'm like, just go ahead and tell me what day works for you. And they're like, any day is fine. I'm like, okay, does Monday at 2 p.m. work? And they're like, at this mall, right? I'm like, yeah, at that mall. And they're like, okay, yeah, that mall is great, wonderful. And then they change the subject, and I steer the subject back. I'm like, is that day okay? At that time? And they're like, I said at any day. And I'm like, yes, but you need to confirm that day. Just because you gave consent for any other day, I need you to consent to that specific time slot and day, in case, you never know. I know you said that you're available at all times, but I need you to confirm this. And they're like, I said any day. I'm like, just say yes, woman. Please say yes. And they're like, yeah, that day works fine. Why are you so weird about this? I said any day. I'm like, yes, but you need to say yes to that day and to that time slot, okay? All right, thank you. At that time of that day. Now, do you want to meet at that time, or is that the time that you want to leave to go there? And they're like, oh my fucking God. I'm like, please, just confirm with me. And they're like, yeah, okay, there. We're gonna meet at that time, there. I'm like, okay, at what part of the mall? Do we want to meet at the food court? Do we want to meet at a... I remember that friend was so fucking livid with me. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to go that day and be super stressed out at the fact of, oh my God, what if they don't show up? Where are we supposed to meet? Were we supposed to meet at 2? Or were we supposed to leave at 2? Where are we gonna go? How are we gonna get there? How long are we gonna be here? What stores are we gonna go to? What are we gonna be doing? Like, I need that plot. I need, okay, whatever. I went on a whole long rant. I'm gonna leave you guys. This is a long rant. I always do long, what's it called? Long outros for this series for some reason. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching!